Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at Google Veo 3.
Yeah, that new AI tool for video and audio that DeepMind showed off at Google I/O 2025.
Exactly. And if you're trying to keep up with this stuff, like our learner persona, think of this as a shortcut to grasping what it is and, why it might matter.
For sure. Understanding Veo 3, it's not just about a new gadget existing. It hints at maybe a real shift in how content gets made.
Okay, so let's get into it. Basically, Veo 3, it generates video, right? And audio.
High-quality synchronized video and audio,
Yeah.
yeah. From text or even image prompts.
But the really big thing, it seems, is the audio generation being native.
Totally.
Like, we're talking dialogue that actually syncs with lips, sound effects matching the action, music fitting the mood.
All generated together.
Yeah, it feels like we're finally maybe moving past that silent film era of AI video.
That native audio piece, that's a huge differentiator. It's not just adding sound later, it's creating the whole audio-visual thing as one unified piece.
Right. So our mission today really is to unpack what makes Veo 3 different. What can it actually do? How do you use it? And what are the, bigger picture implications?
And not just the tech specs, but how it might actually change how creators work, what new things become possible.
Okay, let's start there then. What really sets Veo 3 apart? We mentioned integrated audio, but why is that such a leap?
Well, the fascinating part is that it's not just, making visuals and then slapping sound on. It's generating the dialogue, the sound effects, the music, as part of creating the visual.
So they're inherently linked.
Exactly. They're synchronized from the start. Think about prompting, like a busy market scene. The AI doesn't just make the visuals, it simultaneously creates the sounds, the chatter, the footsteps, maybe background music, all timed perfectly.
Wow. So the scene is sort of born complete, audio and video together. That must cut out a lot of post-production hassle.
Definitely. It leads to something that feels more, well, immersive and believable right out of the gate. The lip sync especially, that's a big step for making AI characters feel more, present.
Okay, so integrated audio is key. What other features are we looking at with Veo 3?
Visually, you're getting these high-quality 8-second clips. And there's talk about improved realism, better motion accuracy.
Less of that slightly weird, floaty AI movement.
Hopefully, yeah. More fluid, believable actions.
8 seconds. It sounds short, but I guess for quickly visualizing an idea or a quick shot.
Exactly. Rapid prototyping. And it's meant to handle pretty complex prompts, too. You can supposedly get quite detailed, layer in specific elements, and it should interpret that fairly well.
And all tied together with that integrated audio, making a complete little audiovisual package.
That's the idea.
Now, how do people actually get their hands on this? Sounds computationally heavy.
It is. Right now, access is through Google's AI Ultra plan. That's a subscription.
And how much are we talking?
Currently listed at $249.99 a month.
Okay, wow. That's not trivial. So who's the target user right now, would you say?
Initially, you'd think professional creators, maybe businesses who can justify that cost for rapid video generation.
Makes sense. And where is it available?
Just the U.S. for now. But they've said they plan to expand into Europe and other places later on.
Okay, so if you're listening elsewhere, maybe hang tight. For those in the U.S. with the subscription, how do they actually use it? What's the workflow like?
The main way seems to be through the Gemini app. You find the video generation option, type in your prompt.
Describing the visuals and the sound you want?
Yeah, visuals, dialogue, sound effects, music ideas. You put that in the prompt. Then you hit generate, and out comes the 8-second clip, audio synced and all.
Sounds almost too simple. Just type it in.
Well, that's the basic interface.
Yeah.
For more control, they've also introduced this new tool called Flow.
Flow?
Yeah, Flow. It's apparently designed specifically for, AI-assisted filmmaking. So more features for storytelling, building scenes, a more advanced experience than just the Gemini prompt.
Gotcha. So Gemini for quick hits, Flow for deeper work. Now, shifting gears a bit, what about the people actually using these tools? We looked at some feedback from creators experimenting with AI video, right? What are they saying?
It's interesting. There's definitely enthusiasm, but it's tempered with, realism about where things are now.
Okay.
One creator perspective we saw really appreciated the potential, especially what they called randomness magic.
Randomness magic, what's that?
It's those unexpected, sometimes surprisingly creative outputs you get from the AI. It's not always exactly what you prompted, but sometimes it sparks a new idea.
Yeah.
Almost like the AI is collaborating in a weird way.
An unpredictable collaborator. I can see how that could be cool, but maybe frustrating too.
Exactly. And that leads to the limitations they're hitting. A big one is the lack of fine-grained control. No real way to preview before you generate. You just kind of roll the dice.
So it's generate and see.
Pretty much. Plus, the 8-second limit is obviously restrictive for longer narratives, and generation times can still be slow. It's not quite ready to replace traditional methods for complex projects.
Right. So powerful for some things, but not a full replacement yet. This randomness magic idea, though, it connects to something else mentioned, this inherent fluidity of AI scenes. What's that about?
Yeah, this was a really sharp observation. Think about traditional filmmaking. You shoot visuals, record audio separately, add effects, layer it all together in post. It's what the source called a composited world.
Built piece by piece.
Right. But AI video, like VO3, it generates everything, the motion, the lighting, the environment, the sound, all in one go. It's integrated.
Ah, okay.
And that results in this unique sense of fluidity, of coherence within that 8-second chunk. Everything just belongs together naturally.
Because it was all created together by the same process, not bolted on afterward.
Exactly. It avoids those little inconsistencies you can get when compositing. For a creator, maybe that means starting with a more unified vision, less patching things up later, more sort of organic life in the scene.
That sounds like it could lead to massive efficiency gains, maybe even cost savings. The source mentioned this provocative idea, a $10,000 scene in 10 seconds.
Right. That really hits home the potential economic disruption. Think about a complex visual effects, shot huge budgets, tons of time, big teams.
Weeks, maybe months of work?
Yeah. And AI video generation promises something visually complex, within its limits, of course, almost instantly, and for basically zero marginal cost per clip. That could drastically lower the barrier for ambitious visuals.
Okay, so if we were to sum it up for someone considering VO3 right now in 2025, what are the big pros and cons?
Well, the pros are pretty clear. Insanely fast generation, that inherent fluidity we talked about, near zero cost per clip, that randomness potentially sparking creativity.
Democratizing storytelling, maybe.
Yeah, enabling more people to create visually rich stuff.
Yeah.
And seamless motion within the scene. But the cons are also significant.
Like the lack of control.
Lack of control, definitely. No traditional editing layers, there's short duration limits, storytelling. There's no clear pipeline for integrating it into pro workflows yet. It's unpredictable.
Risk of looking kind of generic AI-ish.
That too. And the audio, while integrated, probably isn't at the level of professional audio mixing.
So huge potential, but still some big hurdles, especially for filmmakers needing precise control. The source really stressed that for detailed, script-driven work, current AI might not cut it.
Yeah, that's crucial. If you're a director needing to dictate exactly where an actor stands, how the light hits them, specific camera moves, subtle emotional beats, VO3 right now isn't really built for that.
It makes atmosphere, not necessarily specific intention.
Exactly. It doesn't understand blocking or shot continuity cross cuts or purposeful lighting design in the way a human crew does.
The workaround mentioned was this idea of one-shot impressionism. Generate the whole 8-second scene at once for coherence, but except you lose that fine control.
Right. You get the overall vibe, the feeling, but maybe not the specific nuance or sculpted moments that a director crafts, which interestingly leads to this idea of improvisation.
Improvisation with AI film, how does that work?
Well, the argument is that the AI's randomness, its unexpected outputs, can function like a kind of improvisational partner. It throws ideas back at you based on your prompt. It's like the AI is being the actor, the set designer, the camera operator all at once, offering suggestions you didn't explicitly ask for but might find inspiring.
So instead of just executing orders, it's more like a creative brainstorm partner.
Kind of, yeah. It suggests these two potential modes for AI filmmaking. Precision mode, where you try to execute a detailed vision, and improvisation mode, where you kind of riff off the AI's generated randomness to discover ideas.
And maybe future tools could let you switch between those.
That's the exciting thought, yeah. Tools that let you guide precisely when needed, but also embrace the unexpected.
Fascinating. But even with improvisation, you usually need some consistency, right? Especially with characters across scenes. The source brought up the challenge of character identity.
Oh yeah, that's a big one right now. Current AI video tools really struggle to keep a character looking the same, acting the same, even feeling the same emotionally, from one generated scene to the next.
So your hero might look totally different in scene 2 compared to scene 1, even if you prompted similarly.
Exactly. There's no reliable character anchoring, yet no way to tell the AI, this is Bob, keep him looking and acting like Bob.
That seems like a major roadblock for telling any kind of extended story with AI characters.
It is. People use workarounds like feeding it reference images from AI image generators or manually stitching things together, but it's clunky. Lack of persistent identity is a real limitation for narrative.
But then there was this really interesting idea. What if the AI could generate not just one scene, but a whole sequence or even a short film in one go? Wouldn't that solve the consistency problem inherently?
That's a really insightful angle, yeah. Kind of like how a game engine works, right? It simulates a whole world consistently.
Okay, yeah, I see the parallel.
If AI video could evolve into more of a narrative engine, generating larger chunks of story at once, it could naturally maintain consistency for characters, environments, tone, all within that generated block.
Instead of just isolated 8-second clips with no memory.
Exactly. Current AI video is mostly scene by scene. A future AI narrative engine could simulate the whole narrative space, keeping track of things. Imagine generating a whole short film in one pass.
And then your job becomes editing within that consistent generated world.
That's the mind-bending possibility, yeah.
Wow. And to make this less abstract, there was even a real-world example shared, right? A self-generating game movie.
Yeah, this was cool. A listener actually built a tiny offline movie using simple web tech, like HTML and JavaScript.
Okay.
It used a defined set of assets, but they were randomly generated and combined using game-like rules. So every time you ran it, it was a slightly different silent film. No dialogue, just procedurally generated scenes and characters unfolding.
So it's like a tiny ever-changing movie driven by randomness within set rules.
Exactly. It really shows how procedural generation, even simple stuff, can lead to surprising emergent creativity. It connects back to that whole narrative engine idea.
That really drives home the potential for completely new ways of telling stories.
It does. Even if the high-end tools have limits now, the core concepts are powerful.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. VO3, it's clearly a big step. Integrated audio, that fluid scene generation. It's impressive.
Huge potentially, huh? For rapid visualization, cutting costs, maybe even this new kind of AI improv partner in creativity.
It's exciting to think about bringing visual ideas to life so quickly, collaborating with the AI.
Absolutely.
But we have to keep our feet on the ground. There are still major challenges, right? Especially around precise control, character consistency, things needed for complex narratives.
Definitely. It feels like the start of something big, but there's a way to go before it replaces traditional pipelines for everything. The tech is moving fast, though.
So for you, the learner, listening to this, here's something to chew on. How could this ability, generating whole scenes, audio and all, in seconds, how could that fundamentally change things like pre-production, the definition of filmmaking itself? Even if perfect control is still off in the future, what completely new kinds of stories might bubble up from these fluid, sort of AI-generated realities?
It's a fascinating question.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.